Hey, what's up everyone, Vortex here and welcome back to another Ray Shadow Legends video. Guys, in today's video we're gonna talk about something new that I discovered in this game, in the lore more specifically, and I think these are hints from Plarium for the next faction. Okay, now I'm not gonna say that all I'm gonna talk about here in this video it's real, it's that's what's gonna happen. However, I am trying to understand exactly if this is part of the lore, if these two factions that are mentioned in the lore are gonna be the new faction. One of them is gonna be the new faction in the game. So let me explain what's going on. Now, in the past, I made a video about this where I was talking about the new faction, but it was mostly guessing from my side, trying to understand if that's the what would be the new faction. And it was mostly guessing. However, in this video, we're gonna go a little bit deeper into details because there is some of the lore that has been added to some of the new champions that were added to the game, and there's some mentions for two factions that we don't have in the game yet, and one of them it's a little bit more popular into the lore. However, the other one is only mentioned in I think two of the champions. In their lore, it's mentioned this other faction. So I'm gonna try to understand which one of these might be the new possible faction in the game. So let's go into the champions and let's find out exactly what's this lore and what these factions are, right? So the other day I was farming some of the gear for I think what was I doing for Marius? I think I was farming the artifacts, the mythical artifacts. So as everyone does probably, I put everything, all the battles in the background, and I didn't have anything else to do, right? Whenever you're doing this background battle, you don't really have much to do in the game unless you pull some shards, change some gear here and there. So I was like, okay, let me read a little bit some of the lore of this of some of these champions that I have. Specifically, I started with the Cheshire Cat, which is one of my favorite champions in the game at the moment. So I was like, okay, let me read some of his lore. Let's see who he is, where he's coming from. And this is where I started to find out some of the information that I'm going to talk about here regarding a new faction, probably, or one of these two factions. It will probably be added to the game in the future. So I'm not going to read through the whole thing. Let's go to the part that we care about. And I think it starts here, right? That all changed with the Scene of Dragons. Now, this Scene of Dragons is mentioned in other champions lore, and I'm gonna show you guys in a second. So something happened with this during this Scene of Dragons. I'm not sure if it was like an event or something like that. The scene had left thousands of Dragonkin soldiers as captives in Anatrad. Now, this is the first one, yeah? Dragonkin soldiers. Now, we don't have Dragonkin. We have the Lizardmans. Maybe they are some sort of dragons, But whenever you go to the lore of the Lizardmans or other champions like from other factions, and they talk about Lizardmen, they don't refer to them as Dragonkin. They refer to them as Lizardmen, right? Which is why I don't think the Dragonkin soldiers are the Lizardmen. I think this is a completely different faction. And it says here, let's see, dragons, and all were taken as hosts by demons, the cat among them. His feline essence blended with the reptilian form of the Dragonkin body he took, resulting in the creation of a demon spawn that resembled a spine lizard tiger. Now, this is very important because I keep having troubles to understand how a Dragonkin faction would look like, right? Because when we look like the Lizardmans, they kind of look like dragons, right? I mean, this guy looks like a dragon. So it makes a little bit of, it gives us a little bit of input on what the Lizardman, what the Dragonkin would look like. If you look at the cat, right? It is a cat, but has some resemblance of lizards. You look at the tail a little bit, has the scales on his back, has these spikes. So I think if the Dragonkin is the new faction, I think it would be something similar. It would be like creatures or humans, maybe even, that have lizards resemblance. When you look at the Lizardmen, they look like dragons, but they have the specific dragon thing, right? They don't even if they stand on their own feet with two hands and everything. They don't look like humans that are dragons. Okay, I'm not sure if I can explain this, right? Or like a different creature with with a lizard characteristics, right? Or as a with a dragon characteristic. Dracomorph, he looks like a dragon for sure, yeah, but he's a lizard basically. However, like I said, this description here for the Cheshire Cat, I think it's the prime example of how the Dragonkin would look like if they were added to the game. Because, like I said, I kept thinking like, how can the Dragonkin look like? Like, what's the design of this faction if we already have the Lizardmen that looks like dragons? But like I said, here it says very specifically, his feline essence blended with the reptilian form of the Dragonkin body he took. So he that resembled a spined lizard tiger. So this is how they gonna look like. For example, let's think of another example here. Let's say skinwalkers, for example. It's a good example of what I'm trying to show you guys. So think about let's say Ragash. He's the tiger, but with lizard traits to him, right? Some scales, maybe some spines, like a tail that is like a lizard. Think of someone like Samson, for example. He's a gorilla for the skinwalkers, but for a Dragonkin, he might be like again scales and spikes and stuff like that. So I think, or maybe even a human. Let's think of I don't know. Let's say Rhonda. Let's take Rhonda for example. She might have scales. She might have like a tail. Maybe she has some wings or something like that. So I think that's what the Dragonkin fashion would look like. Now let's go back. So this is I wanted to put some pressure on this point because this is important to understand the difference between the Dragonkin and the Lizardman if the Dragonkin is the faction that they're gonna add to the game. Now this Dragonkin it's specified mostly in the lore of the corrupted. So demon spawn, undead. I don't think dark elves. Let me see because I have them. No, I don't think dark elves. Any of these champions are mentioning about him, about the Dragonkin, but I might be wrong. But for example, let's take a look at Night Revenants, right? Embrace. Embrace, he's talking, it's not specific about the Dragonkin. However, he's talking about the Sin of Dragons, somewhere here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. After the Sin of Dragons. So this is the only mention you can find here about these dragons. Anything else is just other stuff that is not mentioning about them, or at least I think. But there is a little bit of mention here. So again, this is all champions that have been added to the game recently that I'm going to talk about. Embrace is a recent one. So he's talking about the Sin of Dragons. Which one is the other one? I think it was Lamasu. Lamasu, it's another one that we get for free. Once again, I think she's talking about the Sin of Dragons somewhere here. Let's see. Yeah, here. When the creation of demons was pioneered following the Sin of Dragons. Okay, so I think the demons, they appeared after the Sin of Dragons. This is what they're trying to talk about, I think. I'm not sure. There's nothing else talking about the Dragonkin in this kit, in this lore. It's mostly about demons and other stuff. Another one that is talking about, this is Chalco now. Chalco, it's another one that is talking about Sin of Dragons, but more specifically, is talking about the Dragonkin, right? Let's see. Here is talking about the Dragonkin's essence. So there is this essence that these champions, these characters, they take, and like here, for example, not all demons are equal, and neither were the Dragonkin. So there is a faction. Dragonkin is a faction. It's not just a mention, right? There is someone, somewhere in the lore, they talk about this one, yeah, the Dragonkin. The mortal body possessed by the creature known as Chalco, for reasons unknown, and no one cares to learn, was that of a Dragonkin warrior who lost both eyes and legs during the sin. Now, let's take a look at Chalco for a second. He has, I think these are scales, maybe. I'm not sure. Has like the horns, some sort of wings. I would say these are like scales, but maybe it's just the skin of a reptilian skin, maybe? It does resemble a little bit of a dragon, but not that much. Not as much as the Cheshire cat. But you can see the skin resembles a little bit with it. Yeah, I think, yeah, this can be a Dragonkin. Look, yeah, this is scales for sure. So Chalco is another example, just like the Cheshire cat, because the Cheshire cat, except for these scales here, and a little bit these spikes on the back, and the tail a little bit as well, you know, has this pattern here like a dragon, but he has fur as well. So you know, it's a mix of both of them. And Chalco, it's I think resembles a little bit of what kind of Dragonkin would look like. You know, has a little bit of scales here and there on his body, so it's not completely like a dragon, right? Or like a lizard. So yeah, Chalco and the Cheshire cat, there are both examples of what the Dragonkin faction would look like. Now, other champions that are mentioned in this, let's see. I think, as far as I can go in the story, I think the first ones that are talking about the Dragonkin, it's Ancora and Narcissus. This is when they actually started to add this lore, in my opinion. Unless I didn't see it anywhere else, but I went a little bit through all these champions. And also I went as far behind as other champions that were released in the first years, and they don't mention about the Dragonkin. So this is something that they added mostly recently, right? So Ancora, we know that her and Narcissus as well, they were part of the Dragonkin Empire. So they were the rulers or something like that. So they talk about this Dragonkin Empire. I'm not sure. Again, you need to go through the whole story, and if you want to know a little bit more. But you can see here, you know, the kingdom to the Dragonkin. We have like the Dragonkin Empire again. It's talking about here. The two are soon plotting a way to seal their union and win something over the Dragonkin. So again, they're fighting this Dragonkin faction. The same goes for Narcissus. Where are you, Narcissus? I don't see you. Yeah, Narcissus here. Once again, him and Ancora, they were fighting this Dragonkin. Yeah, here they talk about the Dragonkin again. Invaders at every turn. They talk about Army of Vald. I'm not sure what's Vald. It's maybe it's another character. I don't know. Dragonkin Empire's leaders change tactics, you know. So there is a lot of talking about Dragonkin. Let's see who else it's mentioning. I think Embris, we talked about him already. Skeletor. Skeletor is another new one that was added to the game. And he's talking about the Dragonkin, I think. Let's see if I can find him. Or the Dragonkin Empire, at least. You know, not... Yeah, here. It is talking about the Dragonkin Empires. So there is a mention here as well. But like I said, if you go through this... through the other factions, like for example the Galen Pact or whatever, none of these champions are talking about the Dragonkin. So you can find this lore only in the lore of the champions from the Corrupted faction, the Pact or whatever it's called, the Corrupted here, and only from these factions here. So let's see, another one, it's Theodosia. She's talking about some Dragonkin Empire here. There is some mentions here and there about this. And then the Queen of Hearts as well. Let's see, where are you, Queen of Hearts? Heraclitus also is talking about the Dragonkin Empire. So there is some mentions here and there about them. Now, this is the Queen of Hearts. She's talking about something different, actually. And we're gonna go back to the Cheshire Cat. Now, this is the other faction that I think it's a possible faction for the game. The Insect Lords. Now, this one is only mentioned here in the Queen of Hearts lore, and is mentioned in the Cheshire Cat lore. I'm not sure. That's it. That's the only two mentions that I found in the lore of these new champions. Let's see if I can find it. The Insect Lords could have killed him, but did not. They saw his annoyance with Siroth and had no love for the Shadow God themselves. So there's these Insect Lords. I'm not sure if they're like gods or something, or maybe they're a faction. But this is the only two mentioned. So that's why I'm saying there's two possible factions that would come to the game. It's either the Dragonkin or the Insect Lord. But I think Dragonkin is the one that makes more sense because it appears to be in a lot of the lore of these champions, these new champions. Again, I went through a lot of these champions that have been added, let's say a little bit before the Cheshire Cat and Narcissus and Ancora, and I couldn't find anything about the Dragonkin. Everything started with the addition of Narcissus and Ancora. So now let's take a look at how this faction could fit in this whole thing, right? If we look at the Tellerian League, they're all kind of humans, right? Have the Bannerlord, Sacred Order, Barbarians. Those are humans. The High Elves, I mean, they're elves, you know. They're humans, but they're elves, right? But they still make sense altogether, right? The Galen Pact, they're more like unhuman, non-human. We have the Ogre tribes, the Lizard, the Skinwalkers, and the Orcs. So this one, again, it makes sense together. Then we have the Corrupted, we have Demon Spawns, Deads, Dark Elves, Night Revenants. Again, they make sense together. However, the Niresan Union, this is where the new faction would be added. But they don't really make sense together, right? We have Dwarves, Shadowkin, Sylvan. They don't really fit together. It doesn't look like there's a team to this one. So I think the new faction can actually be added to the Niresan Union. However, I went through the lore of these factions for some of these champions, and I honestly couldn't find anything about the Dragonkins. I'm not sure how they can fit that, because maybe they will add some stories here and there, or maybe they will change them. But I don't really see anything about the Dragonkin. I'm not sure, because maybe some of these new champions that have been added to the game. Let's see, Kaldor. This guy is a mostly new one. He's talking about Mikage. But let's see. Is there anything here that can talk about the Dragonkin faction? I don't see anything, actually. He seems to be focused on the Shadowkin for some reason. But yeah, there's nothing about the Dragonkin. Because you would expect, if they would add a new faction, right? You would expect to find some of the lore in this part of the game here, right? With the Dwarves, the Shadowkin, the Sylvan Watchers. However, it seems that all these mentions about this faction are added to this one. So I'm not sure exactly how this fits. Anyway, like I said, guys, there is some mentions here and there about the Dragonkin. We have an idea on how they would look like if they would be added to the game. They would look like the Cheshire Cat, okay? It's like either an animal or a human with some lizard traits or dragon traits, you know, like scales, like even the if you look here, yeah, it has like scales here, has like some spikes, the tail, so it kind of looks like this. Maybe it's a different animal, okay, maybe like a dog with lizard types or lizard traits, or maybe like I said, even a human that has some lizard traits to it. So that would be the Dragonkin faction, I think. I hope that would look like. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is something that new that I discovered? Is this something important? Does it mean anything? Or maybe it's the insect lords. Maybe this is not the other faction. We've got nothing that resembles insects in this game, right? So maybe an insect type of faction would make more sense. But like I said, they don't get mentioned that often in the lore here of this champion. So only in two champions, Cheshire Cat and the Queen of Hearts. But, however, the Dragonkin is mentioned pretty much everywhere. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Am I into something here, or am I just talking bullshit and I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Anyway, guys, that's it. That was the video. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And again, let me know in the comment section what do you guys think about it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.